This is a beautiful day that we are right back with the story of Raziela miracle and the way she's defined the odds of cerebral palsy and autism spectrum disorder in Beauty Out of Maya. My name is Fidel Edabaraza, and I'm Raziela Miracle's mother and her mouthpiece as she is currently pre-verbal. We want to begin by appreciating your subscription and your support in this journey. Thank you for subscribing on our YouTube channel and being a part of our daily lives as you cheer us on this journey. God bless you. So far, I have given you the history of the pregnancy process of Leah and Raziela and the life and death of Leah Blessing and how I processed all that as I nursed Raziela miracle at the hospital. If you missed any episode, kindly Google out Beauty Out of Maya, Raziela miracle and keep in tune. You could also turn on your notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of our weekly episodes. Today I'm going to tell you about Raziela's journey right from her birth. Raziela is the survivor of the twins. She was 37 centimeters long and weighed 1750 grams at birth. Now, when both Raziela and Leah were born, they suffered from similar medical conditions. And together with her twin sister, Raziela was admitted to the neonatal high dependence unit, NHDU. And at the hospital due to prematurity and respiratory distress that needed oxygen. She was later on diagnosed with chronic lung disease, and that was a very trying moment both for Raziela and for myself as her mother. Now, for 5 months, Raziela would not get off the oxygen machine. She was in fact getting very high doses of oxygen. She would range between 1 to 2 liters of oxygen averagely, and that was high, especially for a little tiny preterm baby, 1750 grams. But there are times that Raziela would even go to 5 liters when she was in distress. Now, medics will tell you and let you know that so much oxygen is not safe. It has a way of affecting one's eyesight as well as the lungs. And that was one of my fears as the doctors kept on insinuating that Raziela would lose her eyesight in the process. And when I discovered that, I began a habit of praying for God to preserve her eyesight as well as her lungs. I spent several sleepless nights in prayers for my little baby. I would sleep on the floor, crying, rolling, kneeling, asking God to preserve my baby's life. And my prayer was, God, you are good at all times. God, your word is true. By the stripes of Jesus Christ, we are healed. Christ took away our diseases and our infirmities. And that includes the diseases and infirmities of little Raziela miracle. I decided to hold God ransom at his own word. I recited the word back to God and told God, this is what your word says. I said, so, Father, release Raziela miracle from hospital. She belongs here at home with me. She was not born to spend all her life in the hospital. She belongs here at my house. Preserve her eyesight. Restore and preserve her lungs. Restore and preserve her heart and kidneys. Restore and preserve her brains. I would mention one by one of her major organs, claiming her back home, calling her from hospital and saying, God, let her come back home. And that I will repeat over and over and over again. Now, the reason I prayed like that is because I had read in the book, The Power of Your Words by Don Gozzetti and E.W. Kenyon, that there is power in the confession, and what we confess, we possess. If we confess that by the stripes of Jesus Christ we are healed, as per the scriptures in Isaiah 53:5, we possess healing. And these authors posit that this is faith's testimony against the testimony of the senses and reason. And trust you me, Reason and sense didn't make sense to me at all at that particular time. Having buried one child and having another one fighting for her life, reason and sense didn't make sense to me at all. Faith refuses to acknowledge feeling or sight of the eyes. It stands squarely upon what God has spoken. His word says, surely he has borne our sicknesses. And if God says that he has taken away our sicknesses, it is true. For that word is a part of God, and every word that God has spoken is a part of himself. And so I decided to hold God ransom at his own word and recite his word back to him and claim it for my daughter Raziela Miracle. That aside, Raziela was treated with 2 cycles of dexamethasone. And dexamethasone is a steroid that is used to boost the development and maturity of the lungs in the preterm babies. And its side effects includes lowering of one's body immunity. Now, one cycle would have been fair, so to speak, to a preterm baby, little tiny girl, 1750 grams like Raziela Miracle. But since Raziela's lungs didn't pick up, the doctors were forced to put her on, another round of the steroid again. And that caused the baby first to swell up. And Raziela literally puffed up. She ballooned up and just went like poof. Like a balloon that has been put in air. Her cheeks were so big. And on top of that, her body's immunity became very low to the point that she started developing hospital-acquired diseases. And that called for a very high sense of hygiene to be observed by all that came in contact with her, including the doctors and the nurses. Otherwise, other patients' diseases would and indeed were passed on to Raziela. If a doctor or a nurse got in contact with another patient and came to handle Raziela, she would then be infected with the disease of the previous patient that had been attended to by the doctor or the nurse. And so they had to really sanitize and make sure that they are really disinfected and they're okay. Raziela was also diagnosed with pulmonary hypertension, which is high blood pressure in the pulmonary arteries. And this elevated blood pressure can lead to severe shortness of breath and death. She was also diagnosed with the accumulation of excess fluid around the heart, which the medics will call myocardial dysfunction with pericardial effusion. And she also had a PDA mama, and this is a congenital disorder in the heart, which is a hole that a child, a preterm child will have, but it's supposed to close once the child is born. But for Raziela, this neonate ductus arteriosus failed to close after birth, and this diagnosis was done on day 10 of her life, and an echo was done and confirmed that she had a PDA mama, an open hole in her heart. And the PDA may lead to congestive heart failure if left uncorrected. And that called for heart anti-failure drug regime to be commenced for Raziela Miracle's life to be preserved. And so she was put on digoxin for the heart, and also Lasix for the same balance between the heart and the kidneys, so that the heart is corrected, but at the same time the kidneys are also not overloaded and go into distress. And that was also a very long and trying moment, a delicate balance for Raziela Miracle's life. But God has been in control, and we thank him that he's continued to prevail over every situation. Well, we'll be right back with the continuation of Beauty Out of Maya Define the odds of cerebral palsy and autism spectrum disorder. The life of Raziela Miracle next week, Friday. Thank you very much for being a part of our life. We have appreciated your comments of love. We have appreciated the fact that you have also reached out to let us know the pains that you are facing in your own lives. Keep hope alive. Let us continue fixing our eyes on the Lord Jesus Christ, who is the author and the perfecter of our lives. See you next week, Friday. God bless you.